Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit, because he was fucking useless.
So we have come to the conclusion that it was Portsmouth and Derby, Tony.
Yeah, and we also remember the scores.
We do, which was a 1-all and 1-all.
Well done, because I was actually thinking for a moment, hold on, Plymouth-Portsmouth. Was it 0-0, was it 1-1?
I did actually think I was going to say 1-0 to us for last Friday. That seems like an astonishingly long time ago, doesn't it? Last Friday, it really does.
Yeah, it does.
It threw
really
me
does.
that because when I got up on the next day, which was Saturday, I was convinced it was Sunday, because we'd had a game, hadn't we?
It does throw you, and then you think to yourself, "Oh, hold on, it's only Saturday. Another 3 days to go," and then before you know it, you're back at work and you're wondering where the time went.
So I've been all right, and as you know, Tony, I've spent a stupid amount of money on things that I don't really need.
Yeah.
So there you go. So I've been back to work to save myself a bit of money, to be quite honest. So, yeah, it was. I can't disagree. I'm surprised, especially surprised with the result on Monday just gone. But we'll start with a Good Friday. And it was a Good Friday. Oh, Tony,
It was a decent Friday.
It was a decent Friday, not a Good Friday. It was a decent Friday, Tom.
It was a decent Friday. Disappointing. Let's get their goal out of the way, because you can't really say anything about that other than
not again. We could say that.
Not again.
Because it was the same bloody
an unmarked
thing.
man who had the run of the box, and I can't fathom. I just can't fathom how an opposing player can be in our box unmarked, unnoticed.
I think it's more.
I say unnoticed. It's not possible that he couldn't have. Someone. It's just even, down to the very minute details about who's marking who and so on. There is a spare man in our box. Who's taking responsibility? Or who's taking responsibility in the defence to say, "There's your man," or he's unmarked. Come inside, get on him. It's just so frustrating because
it's so frustrating, Tony, because it was happening under Liam Manning, and we were just assuming that there was a problem. Exactly the same thing is happening under Mark Jackson. So you think there's a problem there that someone has not been able to solve, isn't there? Because you just think it's the same goal time and time again, isn't it? It just does.
It's the same. It is exactly the same. It's the unmarked man in all the space in the world, and he's just run from the edge of the 18-yard box, and it was a decent finish, but he was under zero pressure. I can't explain it. I just can't give any logical reason as to how a man if he'd have out-muscled his defender or got the wrong side, but he was completely and utterly unmarked.
It's just the usual thing. Like I said a minute ago, why on earth does it keep happening? I know we're like, we don't want to come as like a pair of grumps, even though that is this podcast USP.
But again, if you take that away, we win the game 1-0.
We do, yeah. We do.
It's as simple as that.
It's a goal that we're continually letting in every single time. It's ridiculous, really.
Yeah. Everything else has improved greatly, and I genuinely mean, when you look at our goal, 16 passes,
it's a great goal,
at least 2 resets that I can remember off the top of my head, and it was like watching us in our prime last season.
It was, yeah. It really was.
Confident on the ball, not worried about resetting at all. If you have to reset once, twice, 3 times, do it. If it means you keep the ball and you get a position to score a goal, which is exactly what happened. And our fans, actually, in fact, football fans in general, particularly our fans, should take a look at that and realise why we reset so often, why we use Jamie coming so often as the 12th man, because that ball went backwards and forwards across the back four until the space was seen, the gap was found, and the right players were brought in. So it is a very good example of why teams not only keep the ball, but you do have to go back to the keeper sometimes. You do have to try and stretch the other team to move them into positions where they're uncomfortable or vulnerable. And that's exactly what we did. And it was 16 passes in the end, with a very nice finish. Some good work on the wing from Matt Holland, I think it was. Not Matt Holland. Holland fella, the Dutch bloke. And... Hold on, no, that was yesterday. That was Derby. Oh, fuck me.
Well, and even yesterday, so it was the day before yesterday, if we're being factually correct.
Yeah, but... Oh, yeah, I was talking about the great improvements, wasn't I? The goal at Derby being a very good example of that, and how we're now finally, with 6 games to go, 5 games to go, doing what we've been used to for the last couple of years.
It shows a level of confidence that has been sadly lacking really up until recently. You don't know if Jackson somehow managed to, I don't know, instill it in them that, you guys are actually all right at football.
You look at and I talk about body language, and another thing I'm always banging on about is concentration, and, for want of a better phrase, being in the zone, being in complete control of what you're doing, and being comfortable with it. And that, again, definitely coinciding with Louis coming back. We know that, and him always being a safe outlet as well. And it's nice to be able to give the ball to a player and know that it's not going to go tits up. That confidence that gives to other players to then also start playing with a bit of freedom. It comes naturally to Louis. It's the way that he plays his game. He can put his foot on the ball and seem to have more time than other players. And that's one... probably the main reason why he's been going for all these years. But it must be nice to know, you've got players in the team like that. And then you look at Jonathan Lecco as well, and you're thinking, if I give him the ball, something will happen, And it will build that confidence. And now we're talking, 6 weeks ago, we were down.
I know,
weren't we? We said, if this carries on, and we were right then. If we did carry on the way we were going, we were down. It was as simple as that.
That's a good point you've just said, because it's all right for people to say, you said we were down. Yeah, but that's because we were, to be quite honest. 6 weeks ago, we were like shit. Let's be blunt. So it's all right for everyone to say...
And that was... I said that by adding, or with the addition of, if we carry on like this, we're down. Because there didn't look like there was going to be any... It looked like it had gone completely in... And there was no other way of describing it. There were no positives, were there? There were not. The only thing that you could think of was, well, maybe things will get better when Louis comes back. But even then, you're thinking, can one man really make that much of a difference? Turns out it can. But
what we were saying, Tony, back then was that we need other teams to be a bit shitter than we were, to be quite honest. That's what we were hoping, that that there was at least another 3 or 4 teams that were crappier than us, quite honestly.
To be fair, results didn't really go our way on Friday.
No.
But they certainly did on Monday, with Accrington losing and adding another 3 goals to their goal difference deficit on us. But aside from some of the results on Friday, the teams below us have continued to be as shit as we had hoped. So, yeah, there is that element, but we've still got to put the points on the board, and we've got to get points from teams like Portsmouth and Derby, which we've also done, and Wickham as well. Yeah, don't forget that how good a result that Wickham result is in the context of our season overall. Again, when we were decrying the imminent relegation, you wouldn't have given us a hope at Adams Park, would you?
No, I wouldn't have done. No, I think Monday's result was extraordinary, to be quite honest with you. It really was. Monday was like...
Do you think I think that's probably actually a bigger result than when we beat them in the championship season.
I think it is because I don't really know what to say. I mean, it was a good goal. I know we're jumping on another place, but well, this is what this podcast does. So we'll go back to Portsmouth in 5 minutes.
Well, let's go back to Portsmouth. Yeah, and our goal, which was it was a loose ball that Mo Isa put in. But prior to that, just before half time, they had a man sent off
They
for
did. Violent conduct, Tony.
What's interesting at this point is that we don't have to say anything other than to quote a Portsmouth fan who was sat behind our goal in that first half, was that it was a stupid thing to do, and had it been seen, which it was, it would be a red card, and it was.
They don't seem particularly happy with that guy, do they? It's not. They seem
they're basically saying that there was, Daniel Harvey. I mean, again, I can't believe that they wouldn't have done their homework and known that Mr. Angry Harvey is a wind-up merchant, and he will shout and spit and elbow and do whatever he can. But that's the way that he plays. That's the nature of his game. That they would, they said Harvey had the fella in a headlock.
He didn't.
Well, that didn't get seen.
I didn't see that. I wasn't looking. I'm be honest. I mean, sorry to say I didn't see.
Oh no, I
didn't
see. I didn't see what actually happened. I just saw the ref going over and talking to him and then pulling out the card. And I'm thinking, well, I have no idea what that's for. But yeah, I mean, that's all I need to know is that the Portsmouth fans were in agreement that it was a stupid thing to do,
and it deserved to be.
And it deserved a red card. So nothing we can say. I mean, Portsmouth fans are generally quite nice, I'm sure, but your average football fan generally doesn't say, it was a red card. They'll argue till they're blue in the face usually, but there doesn't seem to be any doubt from any of those Portsmouth fans that were behind the goal.
Well, there was the usual morons, wasn't there? That the usual idiots, but they were in a minority this time. I mean, when I was reading sort of points from their point of view, they were genuinely saying, I'm not sure if it was that, but they were saying it's not the first time he's done this kind of thing, and they would quite like him to leave their club, to be quite honest, that bloke. So just
right, it's a bit of a liability, is
apparently, eh? So they reckon, So what can you say? It's difficult. I don't know.
Interesting.
I mean, I was glad to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Having seen it on the replay, you can see what he's done. Yeah. He's stuck his head right in on Daniel Harvey. But how wound up do you have to be to do that? And I'll say enough for Daniel Harvey to wind you up, which isn't a lot.
It's not a lot, to be quite honest. I can imagine him being a bit of a nuisance, to be quite honest, to use.
Well, God, geez, could you imagine just spending half an hour with him, being that angry all the time? Jeez, I've never seen him any other way than angry or with a scowl on his face. Genuinely, I've sat next to him at a match,
going on a night
and
out
he was moaning the whole time.
Imagine going out with him on a night out. I hate to think.
Oh, Jesus. He'd be the one that would end up in the cell for the night, wouldn't he? Or actually, no, it'd probably be one of his mates getting in the way or defending him or, jumping in on something. But
let me give you this scenario then, Tony.
On the football pitch, you can't be allowed to be wound up.
Let me give you this scenario. Would you go out with Daniel Harvey and me? Imagine that! Oh God, that would be a night.
That would be an interesting night. There would be. I imagine that the language barrier would definitely come into play as you two.
I reckon I'd go.
You'd outnumber me accent-wise, so I'm assuming you two would just slip into full-on Glaswegian, and I'd be sat there all night
West Coast of Scotland
with Google Translate.
Oh dear. I think I'm an angry man, but I reckon he get out angry him, that bloke. He looks quite a feisty fella, to be quite honest. I'm just going to open another can of Guinness, so you talk for 1 second. Oh, you're too late, I've opened it. Yeah,
so after that, quite surprisingly, we took control, but unfortunately, other than obviously we did score the equaliser. I mean, I'd love to see the possession stats, as in how.
Yeah, I mean, the second half was quite literally.
How much of that second half the ball was in their half, because in the lead up to the goal, and even after the goal, I mean, the ball just seemed to be perpetually played across until we were finding it. But we didn't find the gap other than the goal that we did score. But yeah, it's a shame that we couldn't convert that into another goal, and we didn't really come that close.
Me to read it out, like with that very point, and it's from your old mate Danny the Angry Ape, not his real name.
Hi, Danny.
And Danny says,
great.
And it's not the first time I've heard this. I've heard it repeatedly. He reckoned it was that we dropped 2 points on Friday, probably because we managed to give the ball away, even with a man over for most of the game. I mean, I think it looked...
I don't recall us giving the ball away too much, but I do definitely know that we did score that second goal.
No.
And based on the amount of possession we had and where we had it, that is disappointing. But again, if you're just looking at the score and where we are on the table, and Portsmouth, all right, not on a great run, but it's still a good point.
It's a great
regardless.
point. It really was. It was a brilliant point. It's an even more important point with the fact that we went 1-0 down this time. I know they went down to 10 men, but if that had been a month ago, there's no way that we would have brought that back. Even if they'd gone down to 10 men, there's no way we would have been able to do that. Just no.
No, not a chance. No, and the other thing is that Mark Jackson in his post-match interview as well was disappointed. The players would be disappointed that they couldn't do it. But as good as the point was, yes, there is always that part of you that thinks, with all the ball that we did have, we should have been doing a lot more. We should have been shooting more. We should have been. We weren't really making them running around. We had them tied up in their half.
Well, they were in their own box for the majority of the second half. They just were. We were just at them all the time. I mean, they had the occasional breakout, didn't they? I reckon maybe a couple of times they made a go of it, but the majority of the game was like they had 9 guys, well 10 if you include the goalkeeper, in their box, and we were just running at them, just as simple as that. They were just they had decided it was like, well, they'd decided that coming away with a point from Milton Keynes when you'd gone to 10 men
at that
was
point,
a good result.
At that point with the 10 men, it was probably the best option for them, rather than going out and trying to get a second goal. I mean, we weren't particularly difficult to work out when we were trying to get the ball out to Lecco on the right for the cross in, and it did get to him many times. He had 2 men on him pretty much every time the ball was played to him.
He done all right, I thought, though, Tony, didn't you think? I think he done well on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the most difficult things in football is playing against 10 men, because the expectation is that you will go on to win the game and score. But it's not like that. If you are going to stick every single man behind the ball and block up your box, then block up your box. Then it's going to be extremely difficult to break down, as it was for us. And we got a little bit lucky with the goal. But again, right man, right place. I used to put it in. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. And they could have nicked it with that stoppage time crossbar.
Yeah, I remember it,
yeah.
I mean, it was a great result, really.
What, six weeks ago that would have gone in?
It's a great result when you think about it. I mean, it really was. It was a good... I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed the day, which is an odd experience. When you go down to Milton Keynes, it really is. Just think it was all right. I mean, it was a good game. Like, it's good when... All right, we didn't win, but that's a great point. It really is. I mean, it is. I don't care what people say. All right, I mean... There's been loads of people saying, we dropped 2 points. No, we got a point against a team that are miles, above us, to be quite honest. Why can people just not, all this, we dropped 2 points, we should have got 3. Christ almighty, in the situation we are in against a team like that, getting a point against them, that's a great result. It just is. All right, I know they had a man sent off. It's still a good result. I don't care what anyone says, so there you go.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, it was a good result, and that's the end of that.
Speaking of good results, Tony, Monday,
I've got Jonathan's report here.
Well, I have got the second half of Danny the Angry Ape's tweet, if you'd like me to read that out before we start.
Yeah, go on then. We'll have a bit more Danny then.
Now, I'm reading it out as he's written it, Tony, so I'm not reading it out badly. This is just how it's been written. Okay, he starts. Think we nicked a point with a thrown together 11 Monday, where we could have been 3 down in 20 minutes. Weird Watson in the middle and out Zach wide. That's exactly how he's written it. So I can read that again.
Nice work, Danny. Nice work.
If you'd like me to read it again, I can.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Right, I'll start then. Think we nicked a point with a thrown together 11 Monday, where we could have been 3 down in 20 minutes. Weird Watson in the middle and out Zach wide. I wonder why he's called Watson Weird Watson. I'm going to call him Weird Watson from now on. His name is now Weird Watson.
This reminds me of the. This is very much Morecambe and Wise-esque, isn't it? It's all the right words, just not necessarily
in the correct order. No. What's that? Oh, he's not going to sell many ice creams going that fast. It's one of my favourite jokes.
Dear.
Oh, Morecambe and Wise, Tony. Remember them, Tony? Morecambe and Wise. 2 fully grown men in a bed together with pyjamas, and no one thought there was anything wrong with that.
No.
Wait, there wasn't,
the
Tony.
same.
It was Innocent Days, Tony.
Laura and Hardy, yeah.
Oh, it was Laurel and Hardy. Forgot about them. Yeah, God, they did it as well, didn't they? Nothing new under the sun, is there? Anyway, back to Derby County.
Well, your gays weren't invented till like the 60s or 70s anyway, were they? And even then they had big signs on them, didn't they? And colourful clothing and funny walks, as I understand it.
Larry Grayson, remember him? God's sake.
Yeah.
I'm free, John Inman. I think I'm struggling now. I think there was only 2 gays back in the 70s, Tony. John Inman and Larry Grayson.
And even they weren't real gays, they were just
gays,
actors.
This is possibly as un-PC as this podcast has ever been. But anyway,
it's post-ironic, mate. That's what it is.
See that hole, Tony? Stop digging now. Let's just get on. Right, Derby County, Tony. Go on.
You were finishing Grape's email. Tweet.
No, that's it. It's finished. He's got another one, but I'm keeping it for later. He's followed.
Oh, was that it?
Literally that. I've read it twice. I'm not reading it 3 times.
That sentence with some words in it.
I'm not reading it for a 3rd time. He's I'm not doing that. I mean,
all right. I've got Jonathan's here.
How long is this?
It's a good one. He's been practicing. I like this.
Right, I'll go on.
Right, he says. Here we go. After Good Friday and a point against playoff chasing Portsmouth, we travelled to Derby, probably more in hope of a similar result than expectation. Setting off from Stadium NK just before 11, we made good time and got to Pride Park for 12:30 and popped off to a local supermarket for some food and got some bargain Easter eggs. So already it felt like a win. Having parked up opposite the stadium next to Lisa and the gang, we got into the stadium to hear there was no Tucker. Now, if that had been a few months ago, maybe the reaction would have been different.
There was no what? Sorry, I was coughing there. Go back.
Yeah.
I was coughing. What did he say? There was no what?
No Tucker.
Oh, right.
There was no Tucker, and if that was a few months ago, the reaction would have been different. But the surprise in the stadium was evident. We climbed the stairs to our seats, and at the time, the ratio 6 of stewards to fans was 5-1. Were they expecting a bumper away support? Certainly felt like overkill. The first half was pretty much an attacking training session for Derby. McGoldrick and Mendes-Lang pulled the strings, and within a minute they hit the post. Cumming then made 2 great saves, and you felt it was only a matter of time before Derby scored. Step forward, McGoldrick reacted quickest to Collins' flick at corner to tap in from a yard out. Can't understand why Lecco was marking Collins, particularly since we had Stewart, who was more suited against a physical striker. Derby were relentless, but wasteful, even when we presented them with opportunities. Stewart tried to be clever, lost the ball to Mendes-Lang, whose shot was more dangerous for the fans behind the goal. There was an odd glimpse of a Don's attack, but with Mo getting caught offside several times, it was frustrating to watch. Half time, we thought in the stands, how many goals are we likely to concede? Jackson reacted at half time, bringing on Grant for Lecco, and Derby started the half much like the first, except they weren't as incisive with their passing. We seemed to be reacting better to every second ball, and decisions were going our way. There was a potential handball that Derby manager said post-match hit a Derby hand. Then Jules looked to have pushed over Mendes-Lang in the box. I've seen him given, but luckily it wasn't. We then put together our best passage of play and were clinical. The awareness of Watson to drive into the space, the determination by Holland to win a ball he possibly had no right to, and the desire of Lawrence to be in the box, and finish was brilliant. Cue limbs in the away end and boos for the ref from the home fans. The unrest grew and the shithousery from the Dons came into play. Slowing the game down, and Jules was superb, getting injured and rolling back onto the pitch, much to the disgust of the majority. Derby then threw everything at us, and we repelled everything. Even an injury to Jules, forcing Johnson to come on as centre-back, could not stop us getting the point. 7 minutes added, which felt much longer than that. Full-time, and remarkably, we are now 6 unbeaten, something that didn't look possible after Port Vale, truth be told, but the grit and determination needed to survive is there in abundance. I've never been in a dressing room, but can only imagine that Jackson and Stockdale would have given this a fragile group of players some belief and possibility, having been told some home truths, and are now reaping the rewards. The job is far from over, but if we can get a minimum of 4 points for Cheltenham and Charlton, then I'll truly believe we're nearly there. Final word must go to Derby County fans. Their sense of entitlement, as shown in the clip I sent you. He sent me the video. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Derby fan calling us tweets and all sorts. It was hilarious. Stop crying, Derby fans. You fucked it up, not us. The Derby fans are saying we should be beating teams like Fleetwood, MK Dons and Ipswich is staggering. They have to remember that at the start of this season, all their transfer business was essentially free agents due to their financial situation. Keep up the great work, guys, and come on, you Dons. Thank you, Jonathan. Excellent report, as always. I enjoyed reading that. I did interpret it, some of it, in my own way, I have to say. Some of your words also weren't necessarily in the right order, but it was an excellent report nonetheless. Yeah, so I did mention it when I was talking about our goal and the 16 passes, that Holland was the man who won the ball, or didn't win the ball, but it looked, as it went over to him, it looked like he had no right to have as much of a free run as he did. And what I found odd about that was that the Derby players didn't react to him then running off with the ball. They just sort of stood there. And also, when we did play the ball out from the back, and as I say, there were at least 2 resets in that, they made no attempt to close us down. They were quite happy to sit back 10 yards.
Do you know why that is? Because they have got that sense of entitlement that their fans have got. As a team, they just think that they should be able to beat us because they're Derby and we're Milton Keynes, and that's why we scored that goal, because they didn't think that we had it in us, to be quite honest. No,
as we know, that always works. Yeah, that always works for big clubs coming down to League One.
How many clubs have come down, Tony? How many clubs have you seen come down in Derby? You just think, do you guys never learn? The amount of inverted commas, big clubs that have been relegated to League One and just think they're just going to come and, oh, look at us, we're Derby County, look at us, we're Sunderland, oh, we're Ipswich, you know, the amount of
Keep them coming, mate, keep them coming, because
just come down,
as long as they've got that attitude.
Sheffield Wednesday, you just think to yourself, you know, Derby County will be in League One next year. That's just how it is, they just will be. I mean, did you see that video of that kid in the stands? I mean, that just, you just think to yourself, mate, do you know what I was thinking? Who was that guy? I can't think of his name now, but he died last week or a couple of weeks ago. The guy that was Lily Savage. Do you remember him? Like, I was reading this brilliant thing, and as soon as I seen that kid in the stands, I just thought, man, alive, this reminds me of Lily Savage. But like when Lily Savage met what do you call her, Madonna? You know, the first thing Lily Savage said about Madonna was, you could be doing with a really good wash. And I just thought, looking at that guy in the stands, I thought, mate, have a bath for a start. I just think, I mean, you've got no ongoing right to win just because you're Derby County. What do these clubs, well, we know what they expect. I think, you know, like we'll rock up and just like a roll over because there's 26,000 people in the stands, but just think, you never learn. They will never learn. The next big club that comes down, Tony, will be exactly the same. They'll just think they can come down to League One.
Their fans will be exactly the same. And as I've always said, actually, one other point I wanted to make as well, which I've just remembered, was that Portsmouth only, and I use the word in inverted commas, only brought 5,500 fans. So, whereas in previous years, that would have been, pretty much the maximum 7 or whatever it is they're allowed. So, that you can say 5,500 is a fantastic away following, but is it really based on previous visits where they have brought 7,000 plus? You know, there's 1,500 fans missing out of that lot.
There is,
so my point is that all football fans, all football clubs are the same. And yes, we are going to get, I mean, we could see the likes of Queen's Park Rangers next season.
Man, that's going to make me happy.
I will go. If QPR go down, I most certainly will be going there. But what a horrible shithole of a stadium that is to sit in. So yeah, if you look at Wigan are gone, aren't they? I think it's safe to say. I think it's also safe to say that Blackpool are gone. Then take your pick from Reading, Cardiff, QPR. Huddersfield have got themselves out of the shit, but they're still only on the same points as QPR. So I would imagine out of those, I'm going to say if it's Cardiff, their fans will be the ones with the entitled attitude.
I reckon
I'm
absolutely Reading.
Sure.
I'm kind of thinking it's Reading that's going to come down, to be quite honest. They've just sacked Paul Ince, haven't they, Reading? Just sacked him yesterday, didn't they? I think that's a bit harsh, to be quite honest, sacking him, I really do. I don't know, I mean, I'm interested, to be quite
the thing
honest.
is that in football these days, there aren't really any... I mean, if you take Liam Manning, for instance, he had to go because of the way things were. But for me, based on what he was given to work with, it's an absolute disgrace and a massive loss for us to lose a coach like Liam Manning.
Yeah,
because I saw a big future for him with us, firstly, and I mean, he may still go on to have it. I mean, he's got to try and get Oxford to stay up is his first job. But there's nothing he can do there. I mean, you're at the arse end of a season with a bunch of players who haven't won a game in 12, I think it is, and aren't looking likely to win. They will probably survive, hopefully, along with us. But if they stay up and he is their manager next season, I see good things there. I really do, because it was a massive loss for us, and through no fault of his own, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think there are many Dons fans that would disagree with me.
No, we've said it. We've said it on here. People, you just go back and listen to the old ones. We've said what we thought happened there. So, yeah, getting back to Derby. I mean, what happened? Like, from me personally, because I was watching it on iFollow, was something that is not, as I've not felt for years. Was like watching that extra time, and I was just like thinking, come on, finish, blow the bloody whistle, mate. Because I've not had that for ages, mate,
wandering around Teardrop Lakes and had my phone out, and I think, did Jonathan mention 7 minutes of added time?
7. I thought
it was.
Kidding,
well,
and it went
I think there
over
was actually.
7.
I think it actually went into 9 minutes according to my phone. So.
Like it was well over 7 minutes. I think it was. I can't think. Was it Zach Jules that kind of, like, he went down, didn't he, right on the line, and then he rolled off, and then he rolled back on, and you're thinking, oh fuck's sake, please just blow the whistle, mate. I mean, like, when the whistle blew, I mean, just me and my lad were just up off the, we were up. Like, I was like, yes, like as if I was there, It was just like, it's something I've not had for ages. Is that, like, feeling of, come on, looking at your watch and looking at the time, you're thinking, come on, mate, blow the whistle. But it was just, that was a great result. It's because
like we say, it's the hope that kills you. 6 weeks ago, I certainly didn't have any hope or any optimism about us surviving. And even if we did survive, I was still thinking, but we're still going to have most of these players next season.
What we said then, Tony, was we said that, like, March was a big thing, and we'd written April off, hadn't we? We'd said, well, we're getting nothing in April, are we? So, to come away with the points we've done is just like,
well, yeah, I mean, those last 3 games, 3 points when we were probably thinking, simply only because our record against Portsmouth is, for bizarrely some reason, very, very good. We have a very good record against Portsmouth. Was the only time when you're thinking, out of those 3, we might get something. You certainly weren't thinking about it at Derby. I mean, with the best will in the world, and especially after, as I listened to the first half, and obviously you watched it.
Yeah. Oh, mate.
And it was clear from, I mean,
ridiculous.
I like the way that Toby and Paul Dixon are. They just can't hide their disappointment, can they?
There's no partisanship there, is there? Just like
they had 28 shots.
Like
they had 28 shots, and that's what's more hilarious about that video of that lad.
Yeah.
Is that, well, I'm sorry, mate. You can say what you like about MK Dons, but at the end of the day, you fucked it big time. You stood off us for our goal. You let us have the ball, all right, albeit in our own third, but you'd effectively said, come at us. So we did. It took us a while to do it, but they gave us that one opportunity, 16 passes, it's in the back of the net. They've only got themselves to blame for that.
Yeah, what these people, and we've said it, well, I definitely said it last week, was what these fans don't realise is you're in League One because you're shit. That's why.
Yeah. And do you know what? You get to play shit teams as well.
And you have to play teams like Milton Keynes Dons and Forest Green Rovers. You're Derby County. Yeah. I mean, just you're in League One, mate. I mean, get used to it, because you will be here next year. You just will be. It's as simple as that. I mean, look how long it took Sunderland to get out of it. That took an astonishing amount of time, But, yet another big team come down, just think they can lord it over everyone. We're Derby County. We should just, how on earth, what gives you the right to score a goal against us,
Sunderland have been and gone. And Portsmouth are still there. Yep. Charlton are still there.
Charlton, yeah.
These were regular, sometimes Premier League, but more often than not Championship teams. Now they're resident in League One. They're Wabblies. Barnsley look like they're going. I mean, the thing is, only 3 teams can go up, and you're going to say it's definitely
that's a great point. That's a brilliant point
from Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth, Ipswich.
It's a brilliant point, because I was thinking that the other day. I was thinking that exact thing. Whatever happens, there will be, inverted commas, a big team down here that are here this year, and they'll be here again next year, because, like you say, only 3 of them can go up, can't they? And there's just, 3 into, I don't know, 4 or 5. If you
say it's the top 3 right now, if you say it's the top 3 as it stands, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth, Ipswich, because definitely I think 2 out of those 3 are in the automatics. And if we assume Ipswich win the playoffs, you are left with Barnsley, Peterborough, Bolton, Derby, Plymouth, Wickham, Charlton, and to a lesser extent, but based on recent history, Oxford as well, if they stay up. So, and then, like we say, coming down, we could have QPR, we're going to have Wigan again, we could have Reading, we could have Huddersfield. So there aren't any what you would call traditional, like when Wickham went up and then came back down again. Yeah, right, that's fine. Wickham are a League One team. Peterborough as well, possibly to a lesser extent, because they always do well. But Peterborough, they come back down. You're thinking, that's not too bad. Well, in the likes of Reading, QPR, Huddersfield. I mean, to be fair, Huddersfield have only become bigger in recent years because of their time in the Premiership or whatever. Yeah. But there's going to be some big teams and some big stadiums, not including QPR, that are going to be in. And it will just make it even harder for us. I mean, we're not even a proper club, but the smaller teams, the traditional League One teams, to get out of it, or get anywhere near the playoffs, let alone get automatic promotion.
It could be just become like a bit like the Championship, isn't it? The teams that come down are the ones that more or less go straight back up, aren't they? Like in the Premiership, when they get relegated, they get all that money and they just go straight back up. So, shall we move on? What do you reckon? Anything else?
Let's move on.
Right, I've got a follow-up email from Danny the Angry Ape, and I'm just going to read it out. And he says, in other news, vote Lucy Dawson and Hallie Willem for Fan of the Year and Young Fan of the Year.
That's interesting, yeah. Oh, Lucy was a huge fan from a very young age, yeah. That's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, I wouldn't know who to nominate, to be fair. I always go with the same people when it comes to Fan of the Year.
I
because
hope it's us. I hope you vote for
well,
us.
you know, we might get our one nomination. Thanks, Mum. I don't know who nominates us each year.
I do.
I actually don't know who it is.
I know exactly who it is that does it.
Is it you?
No. I'll tell you when we're finished, if you like. Well, I'll tell you now when I'm blank.
Oh, he's a lovely fella. Oh,
Yes.
nice one. Oh, well, thank you very much for that.
So you've no idea who that was?
It's a good question, because fan of the year is always difficult, because unless you go to every game home and away, it's quite a difficult decision to make. And also, what basis do you make that decision on? You know.
Like it's a random thing, isn't it? It's not a thing.
I won't be voting, but
I'm going to vote.
oh, it's a good shout. It's a good shout for Lucy,
I'm going to
be
vote
fair.
for. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to vote for young Albie. I think he deserves it. Yep, silence there from Tony. Speaking of young Albie, he sent me a tweet. Shall I read it out? Because I asked. I sent a tweet out saying, ask us anything, we'll answer any question. We've only had 2 replies, and one of them was from Albie, and he said, if I ask something, will you complain that the question is too long? Yes, basically I will,
Was that his question?
That was his question, yeah.
Oh right. Well, I wouldn't complain, because
I would.
I'm too polite.
No, I'm not.
But John definitely would, yeah.
I've got one here from Dan, old Dippy Don, that was
Yeah.
occasionally on the pod. And he said, and this is a pertinent thing, it's a pertinent question, Tony. He says, what do you think we should do with our 3.6 million profit better than we actually did? I think we should buy Scott Twine. That's what I think.
Or buy him back.
Yeah, well, at a bargain, because how much did we sell him for?
I don't actually know. But,
I'm going to say 5 million.
Is this the EFL?
Yes, did you see that? That threw me a little bit, because when I looked at it, I thought, because they'd done it in red, I naturally assumed that we were right in the shit, to be quite honest, and it turns out we're the only team in League One that have made a profit this year. That's weird, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say about that is that it will upset a lot of people, and the silence is deafening in that regard, because I saw the tweet, or a couple of tweets related to it, and I thought, well, no one's actually, you know, based on previous publications of profits. But again, it's not just about the football club, is it? We know it's not just the football club income that keeps us going.
Tony, I mean, we've said it on here, I don't know, much early in the season. We sold a lot of players we sold some players and we got like a good amount of money for them, and we bought a load of kids for next to nothing. So, you know, that's why we've done well, because, you know, it must be player sales. It just must be. It must be.
Oh, it's got to. I mean, Harry Darling,
Matt O'Reilly,
Twine, Scott Twine.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Possibly also a lower wage bill.
Yeah.
With the players that we brought in as well. I mean, that's been on my mind all season. Was that a consideration when we got these players in? And I may be biased because for most of the season, plenty of them have been shite. But you know, is that part of it? I don't know. I mean, I've been privy to budgets in previous seasons for wages, and believe me, it's a lot more than you think it would be, or it's a lot more than you believe we could afford. Let's put it that way. But having said that, you can't really argue with making a profit.
No, I'll tell you what I'm thinking,
I don't
Tony.
know where these figures come from. Are they official?
Oh, God knows. I've seen it on the concrete roundabout. Like, it's just someone put it on the concrete roundabout. I'm assuming it's correct. I'll say one thing, Tony. They've been shite, but they've been cheap. So, you know, just,
cheap shite.
Cheap
it's
shite.
Like we went down the bargain aisle of
we did, yeah.
the football.
Oh, I was in there.
Equivalent of Aldi.
I was thinking about you today. I was in Aldi today. We because I'm not at work, I said, let's go to Northampton. So we went to Northampton and we went to Aldi's in Northampton. We went down, what do they call it? Special buys. It was poor, Tony. There was nothing that grabbed my attention at all. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing.
It is a bit hit and miss. I mean, I get excited when they do their fitness and cycling and all that sort of stuff. And I
tell you what, they
go
did
and buy
have.
myself a couple of things I'll never wear.
I tell you what they did have, and I picked it up and I thought, you'd be some kind of a moron to buy this. It was a bottle, right? Just like a little, like a glass bottle. And it was a make your own cookies in a glass bottle. That's what it was. Like cookie dough.
In a glass bottle?
In a glass bottle.
I mean,
it was like cookie dough. It was like chocolate chips and there was something else in there. And I thought, why would anyone in a glass bottle? I thought that's weird for a start. But there you go, special buys, Tony. Or as I like to call it, the tat aisle, just like absolute rubbish. I tell you what,
it generally is, yeah. I find interesting about that, the League One profits and loss table, is just how much money Ipswich have managed to lose in League One.
I was about to say, did you see Ipswich right at the bottom? They were
£12.5 million. That's nearly twice as much as the next, which is a team that's not even in League One, is Wigan.
And it's astonishing that they still. I mean, they've been in League One. Is this the third year now in League One? Is it a second?
Ipswich?
Yeah.
This is their second,
and you think to yourself, you didn't learn last year, so what we'll do is we'll throw tons and tons of money at it, and you think, wow, that's a lot of money to be well, it should be in the red, even though that thing's in the black, but you know what I mean. You think to yourself, do you guys just... I'm shrugging my shoulders because you just think to yourself...
No, I can't. To lose 12, that much money... obviously their crowds are going to be down. You would have thought. I don't know that, but you would imagine they are, just through natural wastage of people not wanting to watch League One football. But £12.5 million is a lot. I just realised this is 21-22 money. So
yeah,
I don't know. Would that include player sales of?
I've no idea, mate. How it works?
I don't know. Either way, we can't complain at 3.6 million.
No.
Profit, can you?
I'm pleased with that. Right, shall we move on then before we wrap up? We've got 2 games this following week.
Two games. Bring them on. So 2. Both home games.
Not 1, but 2.
Excitingly.
So, Saturday. Who have we got Saturday?
Cheltenham at home.
And next Tuesday we have got the aforementioned them, whose name I can't remember.
Charlton.
Charlton, yeah. So, Saturday. Let's go with them first.
Yeah, we're in that difficult position now where you're thinking to yourself, on the run that we're on, we should probably beat Cheltenham.
I would be immensely disappointed if we don't come away with 3 points on Saturday. I really will.
We're capable of it. Let's put it that way. We could just do what we do. They haven't won in 4.
There you go.
They've drawn 3 of those. They've actually only lost 1 of them. So Charlton are actually on a decent run. Won 3 of the last 5, drawn 1, lost 1. Seem to be put in a last-ditch effort for some reason because they're not going to get into the playoffs. Not a hope. In fact, I'm not even sure mathematically. They could mathematically, I suppose, but it's not going to happen.
No.
So Charlton, I think, is the one to worry about there.
I am going 2-0 on Saturday and 1-0 to us on Tuesday. I'm confident of 6 points.
Yeah, I think Charlton's another one of those teams where, for some reason, we seem to have a very good record.
We always seem to do well against them.
Come away with unexpected wins. I'll go with you on Fleetwood. I'll go with you on Cheltenham. I'll go 2-0 and I'll go 1-1 on Tuesday.
We do well against Charlton, apart from that time when Aaron Wilbraham scored that astonishingly brilliant goal, and then we went on to lose 5-1. Apart from that day, we've done all right against them.
Yeah, there has to be an exception to the rule, obviously. And that would, if we win on Saturday, that puts us on 45.
Yeah. And
if Accrington and Cambridge lose, let's have a quick look, see who
have Oxford got.
What the fixtures are, I should say, for.
Yeah. Let me check.
For League One.
I've got a new phone. I've got it out. What we got?
Here we are, Saturday. So, obviously, us at home to Cheltenham. So, Cambridge are at home to Peterborough. So, I don't see them getting much there. The run that Peterborough are on since their favourite son came back for the 14th time. Burton, Sheffield Wednesday. Can't see them getting anything there.
No.
Forest Green are already down, but
Barnsley,
against Barnsley, so Barnsley will probably lose that. Actually, Forest Green technically aren't down, but if they lose and someone gains a point, they're done. And then Morecambe are at home to Wickham. Again, don't see much for them there.
Oxford,
and I would say Oxford have probably got the best chance being at home to Bolton, but again, you never know with Oxford. I mean, winning 12, that's I mean, even we haven't been that bad this season, so I don't know what's quite gone wrong there, but there you go. So hopefully things can go our way, even if it does go tits up for us. There's always the opportunity for the other teams to lose and not gain anything on us.
2-0 Saturday, I'm going that. I'm restating it. We're going to win 2-0 on Saturday, and we're going to win 1-0 next Tuesday. 6 points, Tony. This time next week we'll be sitting here with 6 points.
Well, let's have a quick look at the rest of that then. So on Tuesday night, Accrington are at home to Peterborough. Again, don't really see them getting anything there. Now. Cambridge at home to Wickham. Again, don't fancy their hopes there.
Really.
I'm not even going to bowl with Forest Green. And then Oxford at home to Portsmouth.
Difficult to say. That's difficult.
I've missed someone, haven't I? What have I missed? Accrington, Peterborough. Burton, Bolton, Cambridge, Wickham, Oxford, Portsmouth. So, again, even though we're playing Charlton, I wouldn't fancy playing any other teams that the others around us are playing at the moment.
Right, I'm going to have to wind this up because I'm going to be blunt with you. I really need to go to the loo. I've drunk 3 cans of Guinness.
Fair enough.
Sorry. Sorry, guys.
I'll let you go and do that then, and we will speak to you next Wednesday.
Next week, yeah, that'll be great. I really need to go. Sorry, everyone.